The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of the galaxy, this is the ForceCenter podcast feed, and this particular episode is Questions of the Force. We don't always say questions, because saying the whole word, it takes up time, so we normally call it Q's of the Force. We're going to save time by calling it A's instead of answers. I'm Joseph Scrimshaw. How are you?
I'm Ken Napzok. I'm doing great. We're all fine here. How are you? Yes, Q's of the Force, questions of the Force, and you don't say the full words. That's not what hip kids do.
No. It's much more exciting to say Q's of the Force, which we are excited to take your Q's. We are also excited to let you know that today's podcast is brought to you, as always, by Audible. You can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. We are continuing to recommend Padawan by Kiersten White. Are you a big fan of us suggesting the audiobook of Padawan by Kiersten White? Well, enjoy it while you can, because soon we will be talking about this book and we'll move on to other great suggestions. But for now, if you want to listen to this book, you can download a free audiobook version by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. One more time, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook. And with that, we go on to our new segment, that we do actually have to use the full word, or we'd confuse it with answers, because it's another A word. Our new segment called Asking. Ken, do you want to do our Asking segment?
I'd love to ask. We are asking if you'd like to consider. Head over to our YouTube channel. Just look up ForceCenter. You'll find us, and we're asking if you can help us expand and grow that channel, as we have new content coming on the way over there. We'll be doing the live Q&As. You get to see our face. As always, we rebroadcast the podcast over there. There's even things in the past, old episodes of Databank Brawl. We have some in memoriam stuff, some shorter form content, but new things are on the way. So if you want to give us a subscription, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, do the things. We're looking to get to 7,000 subscribers. That's our next big plateau. We asked for the 6,500 and you all came through. So we're asking for more. Is it danger to ask more like Kylo Ren? Maybe, but we are so supportive. We feel supported by our ForceCenter community, and we want to just ask directly. So there you go. Head over to YouTube and give us a subscription if you'd like to.
That is right. We will never go full Palpatine and ask for a number of subscribers that is everything. We recognize that is unrealistic. We don't want that. Just 7,000 for now. Great reading on the ask. And we're going to move on then to our Q's. We have 2 from Twitter, 2 from our patrons on Patreon. As always, we'll go first to Twitter. And this question comes to us from Dan with 2 N's. Dan says, "Hey friends, asking on behalf of a friend of my own. If the technology exists to have hyper-intelligent droids such as tactical droids, why didn't every droid get that software update? Wouldn't every clanker benefit from advanced tactical programming? Thanks for everything." This is a really fun question. I think we've had similar questions, over the years, but I really love the tactical droids, and I wasn't sure if I had a lot to say, and then I discovered I was wrong. Ken, where do you go with this question?
I have some big picture thoughts on this here. Can't wait to dive into the weeds probably a little more with yours here. First of all, I think there's an amusing part of this question where someone on the Trade Federation hit the remind me later button on the upgrade. The version change, 28.1 for the Battle Droids. Remind me. What's 28's working. We don't need 0.1. And the second that I have is, you know what? But thank God the Trade Federation did that, or just didn't make any changes to these droids. I think that would have been had some deadly consequences. And yes, we know the Republic versus the Separatists has an evil wizard at the center of it all. A couple of evil wizards, but I don't know. Trade Federation comes to mind, but Separatists overall, just the clankers could have been a lot more dangerous, and I'm glad they weren't. So I'll go here. I think that I keep saying the Trade Federation, going back to Phantom Menace, because that's kind of where it starts. But that's interchangeable right now in my mind for Separatists. So the Confederacy of Independent Planets there. I think I think in a way they look down on their opponents. I think there also could have been a budget factor in it. They look down on their opponents, the galaxy, I think even the Jedi, and that they didn't really think that they needed to do that if they have the higher elite ones, because clearly along the way they've made some changes. One of the big things about the Onderon arc is that I love is the keeping with real world history, but the essentially the helicopters show up, right? And they add things along the way. So I think they understand the need for changes, but I think in just keeping the old clankers, the B1s, the B2s, whatever you want to say, keeping them on the lower level, just shows that we don't care. We're just going to throw the numbers at you. We think eventually you're going to be swarmed. So it's a statement on that, statement on the thoughts on war and the power grab and how to get there. And all this leads to this one thought, Joseph, and I'm sure this factors in some of your thinking. This question from Dan with two ends makes me realize that the plight of the Battle Droids in the Clone Wars series at times amuses me, but also makes me feel sad for them. They kind of are treated like this. They're falling, they're screaming, they're just getting promoted right before they die. There's a lot of things going on in their stories, and it all kind of stems from this.
Yeah, no, we love to talk about the Clone Wars as really giving life and humanity to the clones, but I think through its comedy with the B1 Battle Droids, it really gave a lot of life and personality and tragedy to the Battle Droids as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a fun question because I think Star Wars is in a lot of ways a fantasy, but it shares many practical truths with our world, like money. I feel like that's kind of the biggest thing is, that the idea that these droids cost money. I felt like there was a Clone Wars line about the tactical droids being expensive, but I couldn't find it on a Google. But that's part of what I think of is, just because the technology exists doesn't mean that it is accessible to everyone and everything. I think the point of the B1 Battle Droids is, like you said, to be a swarm tactic. It is supposed to be just like, individually they're not that much, but there are so many of them, and you get a Jedi cornered, and that great shot in one of the Christophsis episodes where they're in the building and there's just the swarm coming from either side, and suddenly the Battle Droids aren't funny anymore. They're terrifying because there are just too many of them. Yeah. So I feel like that's their purpose. So then there's this question of like, okay, well, would they benefit from advanced tactical programming? And you can say, well, maybe it's just not possible. Maybe the actual software does cost money. And the design of the droids, maybe the droids literally need a different hardware in order to run the software, and that's more expensive. So that's always really interesting to me. And I think it's important that we apply that, that technology is going to be different for different reasons. The same reason, like, yes, humanity has it in us to build a rocket that goes to the moon, but there's lots of reasons we don't all have one, Yeah.
Or not heading there now. Yeah.
Yeah. Or but they went there so much in the 60s and the 70s. What's the deal? Why aren't they, well, yeah. So I always like keeping my mind open for those things. I think the other part of it for me, there's maybe the financial, the practical, the resources, but then you get into the philosophy of like, do they really want that? Like from the outside, Dan with two ends, Fran makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, why wouldn't you want every one of your soldiers to be a tactical genius? But I think there's something that's very Sith-like in the thinking that there should be a ruler and then thousands, millions, billions of drones who follow orders, right? I don't think independent thinking for everyone is a big pursuit of the Sith. And I think one of the interesting things about the tactical droids that I did find in my Google search, the reminder of this great line from Bad Batch, where Omega and Echo are talking, and Omega is saying, why is a tactical droid more important than the other droids? And Echo says, the more tactical droids fought, the more they learned and won. So clearly their software is something that is allowing them growth and learning. And I think it's really interesting to think about an organization like the Separatists at the end of the day. Do they want billions of B1 battle droids very quickly learning and it's fun to imagine after we see like so many of the jokes in the Clone Wars are the droids being forced to basically march into their own death and misery because they're just cannon fodder to overwhelm clones and Jedi. Yeah. And I don't think that the leaders of Separatists want them to suddenly learn, like, wait, our commanders are constantly marching us into merciless, pointless death.
I really agree with this. We see on the Republic side, and even just we've discussed the Jedi in general, their relationship with the clones versus like Yoda and Anakin versus obviously Pong Krell's an extreme example, but you see that and the clones and that big theme of them wrestling with their own identity. And the jokes about the Battle Droids aside, which I play on Battlefront, while that word was in my mind. I think I agree with you. You look at like what you and I have discussed with B2EMO, K2SO. L3, of course. I think I grew up, even though 3PO and R2 had quite the vibrant personalities that I loved and spent so much time with, I still kind of thought of them as just robots, as my microwave, right? Yeah. I never thought of them as what we kind of see now that I think, because that's also the 80s, but now the algorithms and AI and all these kind of things that are out there right now, I think it's no longer science fiction, a lot of it. So now just apply all that to this question. I think you're right. One of those battle droids goes, wait, this is horrible. I just got promoted and now I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. I think they have limited programming for a reason. It keeps them cheap and fast and in service. And I think the Clone Wars itself wrestles with that, like with that Pong Krell arc. Like, yes, that's a horror of war of like sometimes, this group goes out front, right? And you're going to have casualties. It's awful. But there's a wrestling with the morality of it, like in that Pong Krell arc of like, it seems like you were throwing us into situations where we really don't need to be in. And that whole arc is about the clones being like, yeah, this isn't okay. We'll die for the cause, but not for the hubris of the leader. And I think the B1s, if they got to be even more self-aware, would have a similar issue that the clones do.
Yeah. And I want to this out to you too as well. With this thought or this question, it's a very maybe a surface level question, but like not for nothing, but if the battle droids get an update, that you do press update now, and they get better. Forget they don't want to fight anymore, but let's just say they get better. Does that start to throw the war out of balance for Palpatine and Dooku, where Dooku or Palpatine they're just kind of interested in a stalemate? It's kind of to their benefit, maybe.
That's true. It's true. It does seem like they want to win some specific objectives. But yeah, if they were just suddenly like, oh wow, the droids are really taking it to the Republic. I mean, maybe that's good. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't, I think Dooku might be like, I kind of believe in some of this stuff too. But like for Palpatine, I don't know. It's the great Palpatine X factor. What we know his end game, we know his big goals, but along the way, how he gets there, it's fascinating.
Yeah, man, that would be a great story if there is some little group of battle droids who did achieve, a sentience that was not wanted by their programming, and like it's just kind of fast in Revenge of the Sith, right? Of like, go there, Anakin, go there, or Darth Vader, go there and slaughter everybody, slaughter all the Separatist leaders and make them shut down the droids. And like, what if there is some Bad Batch group of B1s who like, we're not shutting down?
This is amazing. You just stumbled on something amazing there, where you get the Bad Batch, and then you have like G.I. Joe in the comics in the 80s. They had the Russian, the Soviet equivalent, the October Guard, which were these characters that popped up every now and then. So it reminds me of that, of just like you have Bad Batch, and then you have like 6 battle droids that just like got out.
Yep.
And they updated. I found the update button. We're free. Like, and they're going through the galaxy at the same time.
I would love that it was the Bad Batch and the Sad Sack fighting together.
Bad Batch and the Sad Sack. Oh,
but I also do love the actual update things of I don't want to get into the details, but I had a problem with my computer that it might be an update thing. And that is really funny to be like, we've hit the button and now they are much better tacticians. Their left leg won't move and we don't know why.
It happens, man. Recently they updated OBS for live streaming, so of course I did it, and it ruined everything, and I had to like rebuild it. And I was like, so now there's a 28.1 And I'm like, we're going to do the remind me later on here. I like this idea, too, of if maybe there was some separatist leaders like, hey, this would make sense if we did this. We could win the war. We have an update ready. And that word gets to Dooku and Grievous and Palpatine. And suddenly those scientists aren't around anymore. I'm not rooting for death and destruction, but, like it can be a little subplot.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many interesting factors in it. But I think at the end of the day, for me, I just kind of take it. It is the simple realistic, like that level of software and the hardware needed to run it is expensive, and it's not for the just pump them out B1 battle droids.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Very fun thoughts. We're going to move on to our second Twitter question. This comes to us from Ben Potter. This is a very fun one. Ben says, do you have a favorite prequel Obi-Wan hanging moment? I count 4 total, 2 in The Phantom Menace. Once again, it seems like a simple question, but so many things to discuss. I want to start with this, Ken. This was my attempt to count the Obi-Wan Kenobi hanging in a prequel moments.
Yeah.
This is just the films. This is not all of Clone Wars, where the list would expand greatly.
Oh, right. So
in The Phantom Menace, in the Naboo generator room battle, he is kicked by Maul, right, and separated from Maul and Qui-Gon. So he hangs there for a second before pulling himself up. There is one of Obi-Wan's most famous hanging moments in The Phantom Menace after being force pushed by Maul after Qui-Gon has fallen. Then we go to Attack the Clones, and hey, I consider it hanging when he's clinging to the courier droid of Zam Wesell. I consider it this. I'm going to stretch the definition of hanging here, but just to make sure we get as many as we can, I think when he's fighting Jango on Kamino and he falls and he's hanging on to Jango's cable, I think he's hanging there for a second.
Yeah.
Then we go to Revenge of the Sith. I think it is a form of hanging when he is unconscious on Anakin's back in an elevator shaft.
Hey, I like that.
And then another one of the famous ones in Revenge of the Sith, hanging off the ledge on Utapau after being thrown by Grievous, and right before destroying Grievous. And this is maybe stretching it. This is maybe more clinging than hanging. But certainly when he and Anakin are riding the bit of Mustafar equipment on the river of flames. Towards the waterfall of fire. There's some hanging, there's some clinging. So that was my attempt to count the major hanging moments of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the prequels. How do you feel about the list?
I think the list is good. You're missing one big one. In A New Hope, he is hanging on the hope that Luke Skywalker will grow up and do what he needs to do.
He's hanging on to hope the entire time. Yeah, definitely that scene in the Jedi Temple when Yoda senses what's in the hollow files. Obi-Wan's hanging on to hope.
Hanging on to hope. Great. Sounds like an album Milhouse's dad would release after his first one on cassette. Love this. Love the list. Love the counting. Love this. Love the question.
Yeah, and who knows? I might have missed one. I didn't have time to rewatch the entire prequel trilogy for hangings, so if I missed one, I apologize. What are your favorite Obi-Wan hanging moments, and what kind of metrics do you use to determine the answer to such an important question?
I think it is, for me, the interesting about the hanging with Obi-Wan, this is a wonderful observation, Ben, is Obi-Wan is somewhat measured. We look at him as, we often say, the poster child for Jedi or follows the rules. That's a general sweep of the character, but there's some truth in there. He takes chances. So I like when he is hanging and it puts him out of his comfort zone, or our perceived Kenobi comfort zone that he might be in, that it's challenged. And that's why it's like, I have a shout out to the Phantom Menace hanging there before he flies up and kills Maul. I do love that one. You probably have much more to say about what that does to him in that moment and how it forces him to focus, because that's right. I think when you're off the beaten path, when you're off the planned route of attack, and you're just hanging there, you have a lot to think about in a short amount of time, and how to get out of it. How to get out of it. So I love that one. But my favorite one is, and I'm glad you counted because I counted too, but is hanging off the ASN courier droid. In the thing with Zam Wesell. You and I have talked about it. Others have joked about it. Kenobi's a little, no, come on, Anakin, we must be mindful. I'm jumping out the window. and I love it, because he, at the end of the day, is a Jedi Knight. And he's doing that for good. There's good reasons to do that. And it's fun, adventure. It is film noir to me as well. It's the shot through the window. It's the car chase. There's a lot of things I love about it. It's also of all the Jedi skills that you can have out there, hanging by your fingers for an extended period of time. I don't care how many midi-chlorians are coursing through your veins. That is hard. I as much as I do enjoy going to the gym and do lift some weights, I don't have a lot of the hanging arm strength. It's one of the hardest things. Your body weight takes over, and I have too much of it. I had to do a sketch at the Groundlings. It was a runner through the show. So we had 3 bits of it. It was me, Peter Sprite, and Brian Keith Etheridge hanging from, they have a bar at the center of the Groundling stage. And it was like, we got knocked out of a helicopter. Helicopter was the runner, right? It was three characters dealing with possibly having to fall into the ocean. If at any one of us fell, the sketch was over, right? And we couldn't bring it back in. This was our show. And the amount of strain and pain I went through, this was 2002. So here I see Kenobi doing this, and I'm like, I really admire him. I love the sequence, the strength it takes, the concentration. He gets even hit, his fingers come on. He has to he's hanging by one hand. You got all the cars around there. I love everything about it. It's true pulp adventure.
The shock of Megaloof. Yeah.
Megaloof. You got Megaloof there.
You're saying lots of good things. I love the idea that hanging from something is a teachable moment, that you have time to go, how did I end up where I am, and what can I do to correct my life path in this moment? I think that's great. I relate to you about hanging for comedy sketches. I've definitely done that a couple times. But hanging was one of the things that I was actually good at in gym, because I weighed about 7 pounds for a large chunk of my growing up and into my adulthood. And the things that I was not good at sports. I was not naturally coordinated. I was not encouraged or given good guidance on how to get better at those things. So I wasn't great at a ton of sports. And then anytime it came up to be like, and now we need you to do, climb a rope or whatever. Wayne's World jokes aside, I was good at that. And all the big, strong guys sucked. And it was great.
I love that. I would have been on the ground looking up. There goes Scrimshaw. Top again.
Yeah. And it isn't about strength. It's about weighing nothing, which I wish I still did personally. But life happens, and I am happy with the body I have as well. Anyway, this isn't about me and my self-issues. This is about Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think I love the observation that it happens a lot. I love your observation that Jedi should focus on finger strength. Like I said, I've been rewatching Rebels, and Ezra and Kanan are forever hanging from ledges. The Star Wars galaxy is a place with very few rails where most important things happen in a high place. If you want to go out and be a part of the galaxy, you're going to be hanging from things. So get used to it. Train those fingers. But for the Kenobi moments, I do feel like starting with the Phantom Menace one, we see a philosophy that follows Kenobi through his life. I think begin there is he is aggressive in his fight against Maul. He is, I think, channeling some of his pain at watching his master fall and being separated and not being able to stop it. And he gets some good shots in, driving and aggressive, but he leaves himself open to this attack. And then he's hanging there, and Maul thinks he's got the day. He's just tormenting him, right? Yeah. And I think that it's this moment where maybe is this the first time or the most significant time where Kenobi learns that looking like he has lost is something that he can turn into an advantage. And he does it time and time again, right? The connection between the Maul scene and the Grievous scene, right? Grievous is like, he's hanging there, clinging, depending on the quality of his finger strength, he's done. And he turns that into a winning moment. I feel like that's the whole sort of great point of the sparring scene in the Kenobi show between Obi-Wan and Anakin, that Anakin is so assertive, so aggressive, thinks being assertive and power is everything. And Kenobi, it's like realizes that Anakin thinks, because I don't have my saber in my hand, I'm done. I've lost. Yeah. No, I have something more up my sleeve. And that's, to me, his ultimate victory against Vader on the Death Star is allowing Vader to cut him down because Vader thinks he's lost and Vader doesn't know the game he's playing. So I do think there is this kind of meaningful thing attached to Kenobi's hanging. I also think there's like this kind of this funny aspect of it that we have seen him triumph multiple times while having the low ground.
Yes.
And then his famous defeat of Anakin is, I have the high ground. I think as somebody who has had the low ground and defeated cocky people who have the high ground, I think he has an expert understanding of every way you can be attacked from the low ground.
Yeah.
I've taken down people from the high ground more than once, so I understand how to defend the high ground. Here is what Maul should have done to me as I was flipping over him, you know?
Right. Do you think somewhere the spirit of Kenobi, even though I know he's still alive at this time, by the way, folks, do you think the spirit Kenobi connected to Nemec's words of, attack from below is not expected as much?
I think so. Absolutely. They think you're done. Right.
Yeah.
And I think both the Maul and the Grievous moments are about situational awareness, right? Of the combatants there, Maul and Grievous, are both just focused on they think they have Kenobi right where he wants him, and Kenobi is more aware of the environment and that there is a weapon still to be seized.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think my two favorites are the Maul one is just iconic and great. And I'm going with the courier droid as well because I love that whole chase sequence, and I love that Kenobi's putting Anakin in his place by saying finding out who is behind the assassination is not actually our mandate, it's just protecting Kenobi. But since we have an opportunity, I'll smash through this window.
Yeah. I love that scene. I love that's your choice as well. The music, everything about it, it's grown for me over the years. Is that is one of my favorite little sequences in Star Wars.
No, I can hear the music as we're talking about it and see the scope, a vision of Zam, and all that great stuff. Any final thoughts on Kenobi clinging desperately to the side of things?
No, it's a great observation. I think you've brought some thematic insights to what it can be used for, and we've discussed some of it before there. But I think it's great, and particularly the Grievous one. The focus is on a blaster shot to the guts, and burning eyes of Grievous and everything. But I do love what you're saying of even then. There's an example of got this guy here because victory is the only thing in my sight, and Kenobi has the bigger picture, and just makes sense that he's always fallen and hanging.
Yep. So if you're fighting Kenobi and you think you got him beat, learn the lesson of Grievous and watch your organ sack. That's the lesson, I think.
Protect your organs.
That is right. And with that, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to talk about our cues from our patrons on Patreon back in a moment. And we are back with more Cues of the Force. We're going to our patron, Andrew Holmes, who says, hi, Ken and Joseph. I want to recount a recent experience. Oh, no. Let me see what I've done here. Let me see what I did here. I made a little bit of an error. Nope, I'm good. Okay, here we go. I am correct. Apologies, everyone. Andrew Holmes says, hi, Ken and Joseph. I want to recount a recent experience I need to share with you who may appreciate it, and then ask you a question. I hope that's okay. Preface. In Australia, it is very hard and expensive to get action figures. Preface 2. I promise I won't delve into bemoaning the state of action figures. Be the light, says Andrew. So I loved Tibidon Station Kenobi, or as I like to call him, Obi Blue Kenobi. What a great look. Anyway, I missed the Amazon exclusive 3 3/4 inch, surprise, not available on Amazon Australia, and the Target exclusive Black Series version was not available through any fan channels here in Australia. FYI, Target here is owned by a different company, so we don't get exclusives. I had checked with various places, and they said, no, we can't get this. Needless to say, sadness ensued. Anyway, the other day I was at Big W, think an Australian Kmart, with my 3-year-old finding unicorn presents for a friend's birthday. It had been a crappy week, and every now and then Big W has some good, if not low quantity and options deal on Star Wars toys. Lots of empty racks. Anyway, I thought, why not? Let's see if that 3 3/4 Mithril is on sale. And there was Black Series, Tibidon, Station, Obi, Blue, Kenobi staring at me. I couldn't believe it. And it was half price. It was the greatest action figure purchase experience of my life. Your words were ringing in my ears. Always turn left to check the toy aisle. Anyway, my question to you both is, what was the most memorable or surprising Star Wars action figure purchase or experience you have had? Thanks for continually bringing joy to the Star Wars community. Thank you. This is a great story and a great question. Ken, where do you go with this question? Do you have any thoughts on Obi Blue Kenobi? Take it where you would like to go.
Love it. I've seen that. I've seen a lot of Obi Blue Kenobi on the shelves lately. Both sizes, right? Because there's a couple versions of it, right? Yeah, it's but so I share that joy of something you want that's not there, and that's yes, always turn left. And I don't know what I'm expecting because I don't collect figures as much right now, but I always turn left. There's just this weird hope of something, and I don't know what that something is, right? Because usually we know what figures are being released, you know what might be out there. But sometimes I don't know. I just turn there expecting, oh, they released a Black Series Crix Maydeen. I didn't know.
It is the benefit of not necessarily being sort of a hawk about the action figure releases, of being surprised. And I'm paying more attention now than I used to about what's coming up. But it's still the release schedules of when things claim they're going to be available online versus when they're going to be in stores versus are they actually in a store versus, hey, yeah, we talked about this action figure announcement, a year and a half ago on ForceCenter, and I forgot that one was coming out. I still check the aisle every time for those fun surprises and just to kind of look at the state of Star Wars toys. So yeah. I'm with you on hoping for that big surprise all the time.
Yeah. As far as like specifics, I have to admit, I struggle a little. I struggle to just even kind of remember. It's a lifetime of collecting. I think we're also in this era of, like you're talking about, just add to cart sometimes if you want, and it's changed the nature of the game. But what is being discussed here in this story is just that pure joy. And along the way, there's two things that come to mind. You and I were talking off air. I didn't, for whatever reason, I kind of blocked out or didn't want to list convention moments, which include even recent celebration Anaheim. You gifted me the Emperor's Royal Guard. Brian Ward gifted me the Shmi Skywalker Power of the Force version there that the later one where I went there and I saw it and I was like, I'll get it the next day. And I went back and it was gone. And it was gone because Brian had got it. So there's a lot of those, but I put those aside because there's something about the out and about in the wild when you see the figures. And one that's, I've mentioned it before, but I have it's a number 7 Black Series 3 3/4 Darth Vader with the mask that kind of cracks off, right? This is the early Black Series stuff. So I don't even remember. I was going to go check out the release date on it. And you and I probably discussed it in our figure lists there on Star Wars Ranked. But that was came to my life at an era, I want to say like 2010 range, where, I definitely wasn't collecting. Definitely Star Wars felt like it was in the rearview mirror, even with Clone Wars on TV. And I was in a different part of my life and not quite I got to leave it all behind. I was still very much a nerd in my office at my old day job, as I've discussed here on the channel. But that was one of the ones of like, look at that, a Vader, and I collect Vaders, which it's kind of weird when you stop and think about it. I collect this emotional and physical prison for this former hero. But I just love it. I remember just kind of holding it being like, yeah, right. Just, yeah, I got to get this. And especially then 2010, it's Vader. You could say it's Vader, Return of the Jedi, face exposed, but really it's Hayden's face. So to me, it's a prequel Vader, in my mind. And, that range, I don't know the exact year, but yeah, we weren't celebrating those films as much. And it just meant a lot to just kind of be open to that and be open to the magic of Star Wars in this little 3 3/4. So I still have it. I had to reattach the packaging, I think. My Plagueis figure fell apart too. The packaging just one day just fell apart. So I think I had to do that because it's been with me for that long. So that's a big one that comes to mind now. I will say this though, during Rogue One season, there was a particular Walgreens on my way to work when I worked at Screen Junkies. Then I switched around that time to Collider. So but I lived by it. And for whatever reason, they just had a steady stream of the Rogue One figures, the 6-inch Black Series during that time. And so it was fun to go every week, swing by. There was this wonderful old guy, Mel, there. He was just the best. I love talking to Mel. So, and it was just like, that was where I would go. I'd go get some, some Gatorade, this or that, a can of soup. Oh, K2S was here. And just seeing, I was always surprised when I turned that corner to see what was there. I think that's where I got my Cassian in that cool jacket there on Jedha. And that was just some memories of making sure, specifically going, oh, I got to go see which Rogue One figure's over there.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, because to me, my love of action figures is the actual, figure. I think they're little works of art. They're symbols of the characters, symbols of the ideas. But, when you can find them out in the world, the world changes and online is a thing, and that's its own ritual now too when they show up, and I pick which day to open them and all that. But there's something really special about it being out in the world and having an element of community to it, where you remember the people you were with, or like even if you didn't pick up a figure that day, you went to that happy place and talked to Mel.
Yeah.
And that's what you remember. It's about an action figure, but it's also probably about that place and Mel, right?
Yeah, totally is.
Yeah. That's always the best when it can be a story of hope, like Andrew's is here. So yeah, I'll share a couple things. One, I just need to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi because yes, wow. I remember the first time it was in a photo or trailer, the blue Kenobi shirt, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for the action figures. And then there's the tension to see exactly when and how it will roll out. And this one has been all exclusive everywhere. So the Black Series one, was the Target exclusive. And funny story with that, as the action figures were announced, sometimes when they're announced as exclusives, it's hard to figure out ahead of time if they're going to be sold out immediately in pre-orders. And that's the only place they'll ever exist. And then they're expensive on eBay.
Yeah.
Or if eventually they'll be released at that store and they'll be plentiful and there'll be no problem. You kind of don't know. So I had Kenobi fever, and I was pre-ordering every Kenobi they announced. But then this question came in from Andrew, and I was like, did I not pre-order Obi-Wan Kenobi? And I have a gift card from Target that my dad gave me for Christmas 3 years ago. I was like, I haven't used that yet. I better pre-order Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then last week I get 2 dings of email alerts, and it was 2 different Target messages of like, your pre-order is shipping. It's both of my my Obi-Wan Kenobi Black Series. So I'm going to be able to take one completely out of the package, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah. Love that.
And then on top of that, it's a nice human memory. The only way right now that I'm aware of, I could be wrong, but the only way that Obi-Wan Kenobi is available in 3 3/4 is in a 3-pack that is exclusive to Amazon. And I had saw it, and I was like, I'm gonna jump on that exclusive. And our friend Alden Diaz had DM'd me that morning. He's like, that exclusive is opening up. So that's a nice memory. Like, yes, thank you. So I pre-ordered that a while ago, and that just came, and that one's gonna torture me because it's packages within packages. Because it's 3 figures and they're carded, but then they're within that classic 3-pack discount pack from back in the day. But yeah, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Purge Trooper, and Tika, the charlatan Jawa. Yeah, so the look is great, the figures are great. So I share your excitement, Andrew, and thank you, Andrew. Because of you, I have 2 of the Black Series, and I can open one. Then for stories, I have a lot of them. I try to remember them because it's part of what makes it special, but I also sometimes freeze and I'm like, which one? I've shared it many times on ForceCenter, but I know we have new listeners, so I'll just share the very short version. One of my favorites is a kid. My brother's 3 years older than me. At the time, we lived in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and most weekends we would drive about an hour into Minneapolis because St. Cloud wasn't as built up then. There weren't as many action figure options, but Minneapolis, many places to see action figures. And for whatever reason, I can't remember how far ahead of Return of the Jedi it was. You can look it up. But we were waiting for the Return of the Jedi action figures to come out ahead of the movie. And for whatever reason that weekend, my brother didn't want to come with to Minneapolis. And I was like, okay, but just in case the Return of the Jedi figures are out, which one do you want? And he was like, you need to learn the world's hard. The figures won't be out. It's too early. It's not going to happen. But it was like, but I guess if you're going to push me, I go Gamorrean Guard. So I had it in me that it was like a little story. I had it in me that I shouldn't hope for this. I shouldn't turn left at Sears. It's not going to be there. And then to be confronted with the wall of new figures after, the whole sad Lobot joke comes from at this point, like that's all that was left on the shelves for like a year. It was nothing but Lobots and 82, 83 of Lobots. Yeah. So, and that's when I first laid eyes on Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi. So that's always my sort of foundational action figure find story in memory. More recently, my wife and I were driving around LA and we passed just a standalone toy store. It's called Stock California Toy Store. And we went past it and I was like, I kind of want to do a U-turn and just go to that toy store. And I was like, you should. And they just they have a bunch of Black Series that are long gone from other shelves. Yeah. And I don't collect Black Series as much, but I'm wanting to pick up a few here and there. And it was just one of those like perfect sort of kismet timing things. I was reading that Christopher Lee autobiography. I was really enjoying new Dooku stories coming out. It was right before or during Tales of the Jedi. I think it was right before. And there was a Count Dooku Black Series. And I was just like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. And that was a really happy memory as well.
I love that. You made me think too, we're focusing on figures here. I want to say too, like some of the ones that these are, again, ForceCenter stories that maybe have been shared over the years, but like some of my favorite little things that are pinned up on my wall here in my studio are like the Hot Wheels stuff and then the weird car ones that you and I just think are the wonderful, bizarre things. I have that Palpatine in a Lambda class shuttle, tiny comical, you pull it back and it zips. And a lot of those still in package. And I have like a Ray's speeder in the Hot Wheels. I have a biker scout because of course I do on a speeder bike, but like those are purchases that I stumbled on, right? Like, oh, I'm in line at 7-Eleven and that's where they got the Palpatine one, or I'm at a 99-cent store. What the heck is this one doing there? I love those too. That's going to that Star Wars in the wild. But they're definitely not the ones that like, I haven't sought out or, the pre-order. It's just like you turn the corner. I even, mentioned on like our new show recently when I went to my comic shop, you would expect Star Wars toys in a comic shop, but they had the little, mystery Book of Boba Fett, keychain packs. It was like, that was a surprise. And I got a chrysanthemum and that just made me so happy. Right. And it's like, it's fun. And small note, actually unopened I opened those on my ASMR channel, so you guys could check out Sports Card ASMR. Like they're kind of crinkly package. Let me play with it, and it was true excitement. And it just kind of that's part of the fun here. And I think what Andrew's talking about too.
Yeah, man, that's great. I love the figures, but I love the camaraderie and the tales that come from the figures, and I can't wait for Star Wars Celebration London, where I have to figure out how the hell I can buy action figures and get them home.
Yes.
A good problem to have. Andrew, I'm so happy that Obi-Blue Kenobi made it into your life. My Black Series Obi-Blue Kenobi is looking at me on my desk right now. I love that he's labeled Ben Kenobi. It's so cool. Yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts, Ken, before we move on to our final question?
No, I got to do some errands later today. You know where I'm going to go.
That's right. Turning left. Our final question comes to us from Justin Jacobson. Justin says, lately I have been enjoying the character of Edie Karn. She obviously cares about her son and wants a good life for him, but seems to go about helping him in a way that seems kind of manipulated and creepy, often invoking the power and influence of a mysterious Uncle Carlo. Mm-hmm. Who do you think Uncle Carlo really is? The snitch Tim Carlo? The scary goat with extra horns from Aldani? Oh, one of those purple-robed Imperial advisor Sith cultists? Let's speculate irresponsibly, says Justin. This is a very fun question. As always, I got to acknowledge that sometimes it takes us a little while to get to the questions as we try to take them in chronological order. So I'm sure Justin asked this a little earlier in the Andor run. Ken, kind of two questions here in a way. There's the very fun question of who is this mysterious Uncle Carlo? What do we really know about him? And then just kind of what's the truth of Edie Karn? So take a stab at both of those questions.
Well, so this is Uncle Carlo or Uncle Harlo, right? Is that
you're right. I think it is Uncle Harlo.
Yes, and I thought this was a great chance to clarify because this is not the first time I've seen this like that. I'm going to Wikipedia right now, and it's listed as Harlo.
Yep.
My gardeners agree with me. It is.
It's the shortest Wikipedia entry I've ever seen. Right? It just says Harlo was the uncle of Syril Karn. Nothing else.
Yes. So I guess the great time to clarify that. This is Justin's not the only one who I've seen say Carlo.
Great catch.
But now I kind of want it to be also related to the Carlo family, the sock barons of Star Wars. So here's why I went this direction. Palpatine's chances 5% that it's actually a code for good old Uncle Sheev, but 5% and falling. Snoke chances
5% is quite high.
It's quite high. Snoke chances 1% and falling on there. I do think though it is someone with no surprise power, money, and influence, but I don't think they're in the government. I think they have some sway into the government, big sway in the government. I think Uncle Harlo was a one-man special interest group who just has his fingers in a lot of things, and a lot of people owe him. So that's why he can call on favors. And I don't know the big question is, do I want it ever revealed who he is, even if he's just, the janitor at the temple? I don't know. Doesn't matter to me. I don't want him to be revealed. I like this mystery, this almost family MacGuffin of this uncle that helps Syril.
Yeah, I like that. And maybe the Uncle Harlo is where they get some of the DNA for Snoke. Maybe
it's 1%. It's only 1%.
I hope Snoke was made out of like a DNA swab of half the galaxy. So
he's just everybody.
He's just like, who can be the best template? Well, how about everybody? How about that? Yeah. I kind of think Uncle Harlo has some power, but not that much. I agree with you. I don't think he's like an imperial officer. I think he's, probably in, some corporation, some industry. I get him being sort of Coruscant based, being, whatever his company is, maybe has some government contracts directly to the Empire. But I kind of got the sense that he is somebody who has an okay to mid respectable job, but has had the most success in the Karn family and
I like that.
Absolutely lords it over everybody. Like, I think he's the kind of person who's maybe like, he is a mid to lower level manager. He has a management meeting and, maybe Tarkin shows up to talk to them about something. And he's not in a position to raise his hand or say a damn word. But at family dinners for the extended Karn family, he tells the story like he is best friends with Tarkin.
That's beautiful. I know about 10 of those people I can name right now.
Right. There's just something about it that just seems like it's the gross name game, right? And the position that he manages to wrangle for Syril could be read two ways. To me, it could be read as like, here is a safe, solid place where this, fail nephew of mine can't mess anything up. Or this, with all of the juice he's got, Harlo managed this, which is basically like, the sort of data entry. Which is not to disparage the real life job, but I think the way it's shown in Andor is it's a soul crushing factory of obsessive control that is the Empire.
I love everything about this. I love because he's got some influence. He's got some power. He might know some people. He's been in the room. And I've been in those spots where I've been in the room with the mayor of Los Angeles a lot. He knew me by my face, never by my name. I couldn't call him a friend, right? A friend. But that you could parlay that and the insecurity that comes with it. Because it seems like there's a lot of this in the Karn family, it seems we've got with Edie and maybe this Uncle Harlo of just like this false sense of your title means everything. This push for power. They're the low level version of what's going on. Maybe the Empire of power is all you need. The win is more important. So I like what you're saying about like where like maybe he's got something that's like, yeah, we get it, you're good. There's one particular guy I used to work with where it was just like, yeah, I know your resume. You keep telling me it. Just calm down, man. And maybe more people will like you too. And maybe Harlo seems like he needs to sell that the information, the access, what he can do for you. He needs to sell that to keep you around, even in the family. And he buys into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it seems like a family that is defined by status. So I think it would be the kind of thing where, like, you encounter someone who only knows the best of everything, right? So you could tell them, hey, I did a one-person show, which takes all sorts of energy and time and talent. And they're like, whatever. Like, but I was an extra at this big theater you've heard of. Like, well, that's a big deal then. Like, well, is it? Like, but it is to you because you're all about status.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Love that. Oh, it's great.
Yeah. So, which gets us to Edie. Justin was asking us to speculate responsibly about Uncle Harlo, but let's speculate at some level of responsibility about Edie. Now that we've seen the whole first season of Andor, how do you feel about Edie? How do you think of her as somebody who wants a good life for her son, or where do you go with that?
You try not to get to too personal levels here. Yeah, I think there is an actual love, care, concern somewhere in there. But how you'd get there, the attachment, she's more worried about how she'll handle or not handle what happens to Syril, what other people will think of her more than Syril, and all that starts to kind of whip itself up into a very toxic stew. The son here. So at this point in her life, yeah, it's all playing as negative. I do think it is negative, but I think she at one point was rooting for him in a pure way. But who knows how she was raised? Who knows what's going on in this family, as we've discussed. And she is fascinating in terms of a character. The performance, everything about it. I do want more in season 2. I actually want a lot more. You and I tracked as did all the Star Wars Twitter, tracked the unintentional comedy and intentional comedy with them and the Syril and the pauses and the "you went in my room, mother." It's all too real and it's all pretty great. And we always say, hey, we'd love to have more mothers in Star Wars. And then they give us this one, which is not necessarily what we were thinking, but it's equally as powerful, and just seeing how it can all go wrong. And it's, to me, another form of, like, that we're talking about, the power grab and negative attachment.
Yeah, well, I love everything you're saying. I think we've definitely seen father figures like Vader, who are challenging father figures. We've seen, Kenobi as a father figure to Obi-Wan, where he didn't really want to fill the father role. He wanted to be more of a brother, more equals, and maybe let him down. Kanan's whole story starts out as, I don't believe in myself as a teacher, so how the hell am I gonna? So I kind of love seeing, I want to see lots of mothers, including a not good one, in my opinion. I will also try not to get personal, but to be perfectly honest, some of what's going on with Edie, it does have some personal reflections of some of my life experiences. So I react to it strongly. I think the scenes are funny in a great dark comedy way. Because, like, what's happening here is not good, and we recognize it, but it's also, there's some sort of like this familiarity to it that makes it funny. I think that there is a possibility that she just truly loved her son at some point. But the way I read the show, what we're seeing right now is a dysfunctional and selfish love. She does not see her son as a fully fledged person. He has ways that he is trying to express himself in his dress and his hair. He has an opinion about what happened to him on Morlana 1 and Ferrix. She does not listen to any of that. She does not believe that. She does not respect his feelings and perspective.
Yeah.
So she, to Edie, Syril is existing as a concept. Not as an individual. Right now, he is an extension of her, and she needs him to succeed so she can feed vicariously off of him. So the love that I think we're seeing in the show is only love for the concept of I have a son and I want to have him be doing well because it will make me feel good. And nothing is about understanding who Syril is, where he's coming from, what he wants.
Yeah. Well said, both in Star Wars and outside of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, I'm taking some notes. I have a lunch on Sunday. I need to bring up some of this stuff here.
Yeah. And I really do think it is. I think it's fascinating. I think it's well told. I think we've seen the sort of these kinds of manipulations told in a really great mythic way. With, Vader at first approaching Luke of like, yeah, no, you know, join me, father and son will be together. It'll be great. But Vader is still wrapped up in the dark side, and Luke is a tool for him to get power at that point,
Yeah.
So we've seen a story like this in Star Wars in lots of places, but this is making it very, very real. Like so much in Andor, of taking ideas that you can find other places in Star Wars and making them a little bit more, grounded and attached to the real world. So I really hope to see more of this story, and I think we kind of will, because I know I said this on the Andor report, but I think part of the reason that we spend as much time with Edie and Syril's relationship is so we can understand where Syril and Dedra are going, possibly.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that. I think that the kind of emotional abuse that Edie is subjecting Syril to is creating this specific need in this specific worldview of training Syril since youth, one would imagine, that you don't have value unless you have status and station.
Yeah.
And whether your status and station is good isn't to be measured by you, because when you try to say what you think, nobody listens or cares. The value of the station you have achieved can only be measured externally, Syril. Does the station you have now impress Mother? Does it impress Uncle Harlo, future DNA donor of Snoke? It's all external, right? And I think what's so fascinating in Andor is I feel like we're seeing Syril be aware of this toxic relationship with his mother enough to want to kind of reject his mother.
Yeah.
But he isn't looking at, hey, he's not handling it. He's not saying like, I have been taught these destructive things, these destructive ways to view myself in my validity. I need to unpack them. I need to deal with them. Instead, we're seeing him push his mom away, but lean into my only value is status, and I need it defined externally. Hey, in this particular case, I need it defined by Dedra Miro, another powerful, dominating presence like my mom.
Absolutely. The cycle continues. The generational trauma is passed on. All those kind of big concepts, which is one of the things we love about what they're getting to in Andor.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I have strong feelings about it. I got to be careful when people ask me about Andor, of like, Andor's going to be a hard one to have casual conversations about, right? Like, let's talk about a cycle of emotional abuse. That'll be fun at a party.
Yep. I'm telling you, Andor inspires a lot of kind of conversations.
It sure does. All right. Any other Uncle Harlo thoughts before we move on?
I mean, look, he will be revealed to be Simalu. We know this.
Yes, absolutely. Excited to discover he is an Imperial dignitary after all. That is it for our questions, but we have a Power of the Light Side entry. Part of my stumble at the top of these questions is we have a question from Andrew Holmes, but we also have a Power of the Light Side submission from Andrew Holmes. And I was just double checking that I hadn't accidentally used the wrong name on either of those. Thank you, Andrew, for sending in the great action figure question and this Power of the Light Side submission. This is something that we post a request for on our Patreon page. If you're a patron and you want to share a positive thing about Star Wars that you love, feel free to put a submission there. Here's what Andrew said. My Power of the Light Side is about reconnecting with Star Wars in the sequel era. I was an original trilogy Star Wars kid. Then I felt I was weird because I also loved the prequels. Differently, of course, but they were Star Wars, and that's the best. For a while in my 20s, I just didn't connect with it as much. I was doing other life stuff. The sequel trilogy came out right at a crossroads where my wife and I had moved away from all our friends and family. At about the same time, my dad also got quite sick. He passed away 2 years after. But during this huge period of tremendous upheaval, Star Wars came back into my life to bring me joy and help me through. And hey, it was about this time I found this little podcast called ForceCenter. It's great. You should give it a listen sometime, says Andrew. I have laughed, cried, and cheered along with all the sequel trilogy movies, standalone and Disney Plus series, and have loved having your voices to listen to along the way. Needless to say, Star Wars and Force Center has gotten me through a really difficult phase of life and really increased my action figure collection. Whenever a new figure arrives, I now just say, blame Force Center. So thank you. Thanks, Star Wars. Thanks, George. And may the Force be with you. Thank you, Andrew. This is great. Any thoughts, Ken?
Just one of the things I love about the sequel era is not the amount of new fans it brought, but the love it rekindled for a lot of older fans who, Star Wars is something in the rearview mirror that we say that a lot, but it came back and then what it can mean when you open up your heart to the new stories. I think a lot of what we do around these parts is not just celebrate Star Wars, but I think, and we joke, but Andor has brought a lot of this up, and that's why you and I have maybe struggled with some of the discourses. There's going to be always criticisms of the projects, and some of it good old fashioned just film criticism and things to talk about, things that were hits, things that were misses, and I'm always there for that. But I think I even more strongly started to find myself just standing up to push back of when that criticism pushes over into the other side, which is the emotional connections and the joy and the entry points and all those other things that we believe in around here. Those things can be in balance. You can have some constructive criticism or some thoughts on what can be done better, have some fun speculating on what ifs and should ifs, but when that pushes over into the personal stories, and you try to take, whether intentional or not, take away from a fan, like what Andrew's saying of like, my father had passed away. And Star Wars represents so many things. And when it came back in a new way, that meant something special to me. Andrew might have a third act problem with the Rise of Skywalker or the second act problem with Rogue One. I don't know, right? You and I have those kind of thoughts too. But one of the reasons we choose to go in a different direction here on how we discuss that isn't just blind Star Wars, great, and we clap. We analyze what it means to our lives and what it brings to us. And that's so, there's so many different things and ways to approach that. It isn't just a 7-year-old going, yay, Ray, it's someone like Andrew who's finding a new love for something that's been in his life forever. And that's what I love about what he's sharing.
Yeah, very well said. And I really agree. I think as the sequel trilogy era gets farther in the rearview mirror, right, and I can kind of think about that time in my life, it is the movies definitely that I think about and the new characters, but also what it meant to that time in my life. And I think that's the best of what storytelling can be. Is like I'm happy to analyze just the movie and have those quibbles and have those fun discussions. But I'm so with you that there's so much larger than just that. They help us through hard times. They build community. And I think that it's just a rewarding way to look at storytelling. And I'm glad that we have a place to do that. And I'm glad that we have listeners who enjoy that perspective. Thank you, Andrew, for the kind words about being a part of our Force Center community. We really appreciate that. And I personally apologize about the action figure collection being out of control. And I empathize.
Yeah. We apologize.
I guess I'm opening that second Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know where he's going to stand, though. I got a lot to figure out.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. That is it. Ken, you want to let people know where they can find us?
Yeah, I'll take us home here. We're on Twitter at Force Center Pod. We're on Hive Social at Force Center when that comes up and running. By the time this episode is released, it should be up and running. We're on Instagram and YouTube as well. Like we said up top, if you want to give us a subscription on YouTube, please do so. We'd really appreciate it. We're trying to get to 7,000. Our Facebook page is Force Center Podcast. We are available on Acast, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and more. Just search. You'll find us. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/Force Center. And you can support us directly by going to patreon.com/Force Center if you'd like to there. You can follow me at Ken Napzok across all social media platforms or kennapzok.com, where there you can link to things like Pop Rockin' Radio, Casterly Talk. My SNN Napzok Files feed is coming back soon with some new content there. So check it all out there. Where can they find you, sir?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social media, Twitter, Hive, Instagram, TikTok is at Joseph Scrimshaw, and you can check out my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search Joseph Scrimshaw for comedy, short films, some episodes of my podcast, Obsessed. All that is there on YouTube. And if you'd like to help me make more short films, you can check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Joseph Scrimshaw. But for now, for myself, for Ken, for the mysterious Uncle Harlo, this has been Cues of the Force.